And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC basketball podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, we are going to be talking about a Brandon Ingram trade proposal. But before that, I actually have a question for all of you guys about Team USA. With 5 seconds left, who do you think should take the last shot to tie the game or to win the game? LeBron, Steph, or Kevin Durant, or anyone else on the roster? Who do you think should be the one taking the last shot? Now, personally, the way I would do it is I would have LeBron have the ball first and then draw up a play for either one of Steph or Kevin Durant, preferably Kevin Durant, to take that final shot. Because personally, I don't think Steph should be the one taking the final shot. And heck, even LeBron can be the one taking the final shot for all I care. Anyone but Steph. But aside from that, let's go ahead and go into the third segment, which is going to be talking about a Brandon Ingram trade proposal, which could send him to the Chicago Bulls. Now, I'm looking at this article real quick. I'm going to read this along with all of you guys. One NBA analyst proposed a three-team trade idea between the Pelicans, Bulls, and Golden State Warriors. Greg Swartz of Bleacher Report proposed the following mock trade. Chicago Bulls receive Brandon Ingram, Andrew Wiggins, Golden State Warriors receive Zach LaVine, and the New Orleans Pelicans receive Nikola Vucevic, Gary Payton II, and Kevon Looney. A 2025 first-round pick as well via the Portland Trailblazers, and a 2028 and 2029 second-round pick via the Chicago Bulls. The Pelicans, they've been open to trading Brandon Ingram, and the Warriors, they've also been open to trading Andrew Wiggins I mentioned on a previous podcast that the Warriors are reluctant to allow Andrew Wiggins to play for Team Canada in the Olympics because they want to avoid him getting injured. And obviously, getting injured is just not the best way to negotiate players into trading. If the player is injured, then that's just not really a viable trade, and there's no telling how well that the player is going to be returning from an injury, even though I think the way that, trainers have advanced, the way that the medical staff has advanced since previous years, I don't really think that's an issue. I mean, Kevin Durant, he went down in 2018 with, I believe it was an Achilles tear, or an ACL tear, something like that. And people were skeptical on whether or not he would return at 100%. And he's actually returned and played better since he went down to that injury. Again, statistically and individually speaking, if we're speaking on team success, he has not gotten better whatsoever. But then again, it's really difficult to sort of mimic the same team and the success that the Golden State Warriors had in 2017 and 2018. So the article continues, the Pelicans, they've been open to trading Ingram. The Bulls have been trying to trade Zach LaVine for a year, and Vucevic is now available after Chicago traded Alex Caruso to the Thunder and sent DeMar to the Sacramento Kings on a sign-and-trade deal. So it seems like the Bulls are really committed to this rebuild, so sending away Nikola Vucevic and trying to gain they aren't really going to gain much draft capital from this trade proposal, but gaining a good player like Brandon Ingram to build around would be a pretty good fresh start for the Chicago Bulls. Ingram, he averaged 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists for the Pelicans in 2023-2024 while shooting 49% from the field. Keep in mind that a lot of Brandon Ingram's shots are really difficult mid-range shots, so shooting 49% from the field isn't really that bad when you take that into consideration. He also shot 35% from 3 and 80% from the free throw line. His final year on his contract is worth $36 million for 2024-2025. And for Andrew Wiggins, he averaged 13 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. But really, the value that Wiggins would bring would be his defense. And I mean, he shot 45% from the field, 35% from three, which isn't really bad in terms of shooting. But you have to remember, this guy was a top pick in the draft at one point and was projected to be a star. And look at where he is now. He really hasn't developed as the player that a lot of people hoped he would develop, especially for the Timberwolves. Now, LaVine, he only played 25 games as he underwent season-ending surgery on his right foot in February. So again, this is sort of like one of the big reasons why the Bulls have been struggling to trade Zach LaVine. He averaged 19 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and was shooting 45% from field, 34% from the three, and 85% from the free throw line, but he'll be making $43 million next season. Vucevic is going to be making $20 million next season, but this sort of I think this would help the Pelicans and their rim protection slightly. I think I think Vucevic is a better defender than Jonas Valanciunas, but then again, that's not really saying much. And they've sort of been looking for that rim protector, and this is one that could sort of space the floor rather well. He averaged 18 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 assists, but again, didn't really average that many blocks. He barely averaged 1. But I think it's a start for the team. And, the three-point shooting is going to open up so much for Zion Williamson to be able to operate in the paint. And he shot 29% from three. Again, not really good shooting. But then again, as a big man, it's not really that bad. And he's much better as a mid-range shooter. But then again, that still is spacing. That is enough spacing for Zion to work with. Now, I think this is obviously a win trade for the Golden State Warriors because they will receive a second option in Zach LaVine, one of those players that can sort of run around screens. He's more known for his flashy dunks, or he was more known as his flashy dunks, but he is a very solid three-point shooter and he can go off. And, having him operate with the ball, because he does have a handle on the ball, and having Steph Curry run around screens would be a really good option for the Warriors on the offensive side of the ball. The only real problem is that their defense is rather lacking. But for the Chicago Bulls and their perspective, they get a pretty good guard. A guard and a forward. Ingram is somewhat like a shooting guard, a small forward, whichever you want to put him at. He could be he's young and he would fit with the rest of the young squad that the Chicago Bulls have, along with if Kobe White sort of develops into that point guard that he's shown a lot of promise as a really solid point guard that can develop his game into being a really good option. And having him and Brandon Ingram on the same squad could bring some really good chemistry. I think that having a bunch of young players on a rebuilding team is what you need. It's better than having, you at least need that one veteran on the team, obviously, but it's better than having a team full of so many vets. But aside from that, now the other team that would benefit in this is the Pelicans, who would in turn receive more draft capital, as well as having a competent perimeter defender in Gary Payton II. That's really a game changer for the Pelicans, having that perimeter defender to pair along with Jose Alvarado coming off of the bench for the team. I could see this lineup really working, and combined with the spacing that Vucevic is going to bring to the squad with DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum on the squad as well, it could be really lethal. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of this trade. Do you guys think this trade benefits all three parties, or do you think it only benefits one of the three? Do you think it benefits two of the three, or something else in your opinion? Let me know what you guys think. But aside from that, we are out of time for this third segment. So now we will go ahead and go into the fourth segment, where I talk about Zach Edey being the favorite for Rookie of the Year after his performance in the Summer League game, his recent Summer League game. So I'll be right back after this short break with some stats on Zach Edey in the Summer League, so be sure to stay tuned.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC. to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.